I'd like to call the UW Extension and Communication meeting to order. Okay, I'll read this. Regarding Extension Communication Committee, please be advised that this meeting may be conducted virtually and/or live stream on Trumbull County's website, as well as our TV studio, WTCO. This service is being offered when possible to provide the members of the public access to our meeting of government functions. The public is welcome to comment and/or attend any public meeting in person and/or online. Members of the public will have a 15-minute block of time to comment on today's agenda items. Members may be present in person or call into our line at 715-538-1894. Public may be public comment for the next 15 minutes. The public comment may be extended and/or curtailed at the discretion of the committee and/or board chair after advisements by the committee and/or board. Okay, so have the certification of the open meeting laws been met? I believe they have. And adoption of, I'd like to entertain a motion for the adoption of the agenda.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Mr. Todd and second by Sasha. And also, I'd like to make a motion or entertain to make a motion of the adoption of the June 18th minutes, please.
I'll make that motion to adopt the minutes.
Motion by Todd, second by Sasha. Okay.
I
Yep.
think you just have to ask for all in favor.
All in favor? Okay, I don't have a roll. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, and number 5, reports. Number 5A, digital media report.
All right, so I've got a little presentation for everyone. Just share my screen here quick.
Just as a question, so when you mention the public comment, is that now or is that a different time?
Anytime with the next 15 minutes, like, they can call in, or anytime if any, does anybody have any public comment from the audience? I spaced that out. Okay, none, all right.
All right, so here's a little presentation I put together. Somewhat of an update from this year. So on YouTube, contrary to popular belief, we do have social medias where we have YouTube, Roku, but I'll start off with YouTube. We've got 877 videos posted on YouTube. We have 501 subscribers. Some of our top videos of all time include the Arcadia High School Safe Prom presentation at 6.6 thousand views, Them Cooley Boys concert at 4.7 thousand views, the County Fair pedal and tractor pull at 3.9 thousand views, the Demo Derby from a couple years ago at 3.7 thousand views, and the Blair Cheese Fest parade at 2.4 thousand views. So far this year on YouTube, we've had 24,298 views. Viewers have spent 3,168.4 hours watching our content on YouTube, and this year we've had 108 new subscribers. So on Facebook, we've got 555 likes and 651 followers. Some of our post reach within the last, unfortunately, I could only find the last 28 days for analytics for Facebook, but we've got a post reach of 1,328, post engagement of 462, reactions 84, that's like likes and stuff like that, comments 7, shares 18, photo views 119, and then 78 link clicks. So Roku, we're also on Roku. So far this year, we've had 725 people watch us on Roku, and we have 70 unique viewers on that platform. Our live stream, which is on our website, has 1,608 total views so far this year, and 422 unique viewers. So if you total Roku and our live stream, which is fed together through our system. There's a total of 492 unique users streaming our channel this year. We have had 2,333 total views on our channel. 14.2% of that's been on Roku, and the other 85.8% has been on our website stream. So some of the origins of where people are watching it, we've got most everyone is in the United States, a couple in the Philippines and the Vietnam and Canada. So some of the top streaming cities, we have our Whitehall at 181, Chicago at 64, Independence at 31, Strum at 20, Arcadia at 16, La Crosse at 15, Minneapolis at 14, Galesville at 13, Dallas, Texas, which was a little surprising, at 13, Mondovi at 10, and then Osseo at 9. So this is kind of a map of where most people are watching our channel. You can kind of see most of it's in the Midwest in Wisconsin, Minnesota, Illinois, but there's some small outliers in there as well. Some of the things we've done recently this year, pictures of the courthouse for the website, the new entrance. I actually plan on taking another picture of the entrance soon, because there's just been some updates as we've gone throughout the year. I've helped Haley take some pictures for land conservation of the gullies in some of the farmers' fields that have washed out. Those will be in the bottom 4 pictures. Taken some pictures of the port landings for land management with Jack Hay, all the different landings for people to go kayaking or canoeing. Some pictures we've taken for the land judging contest with land management, and also a video of the speaking contest with land management. So how we're utilized by other departments with the county. We have a Together We Can series with Human Services. We just did a little episode about the wine women and dementia. It's got, I think, almost 800 views on YouTube. So that's been a really successful video that they're promoting their event coming up in September. We work a lot with Andrea with 4-H Clover updates, agriculture lectures we've done that land management has been a part of, and then Meet the Candidates series with Melissa Kono. So we've definitely been working with some other departments. I've also tried to work with the Sheriff's Department with the Badges program. It's been a little bit of a hiccup with that. I'm just trying to get them to get back to me, but hoping to finish that up soon. Some of the places we serve, we have 6 area churches. We have 4 current community producers, 7 volunteers, and so far we've covered 57 community events in 2024. Some of the other things we do, we have a bulletin board channel on channel 8 of our cable. We have had 82 bulletins posted in the last 20 months that advertise open positions at Trempealeau County, 158 community events promoted through the bulletin channel in the past 20 months, 21 bulletins promoting Trempealeau County functions as well. So that's something we could probably get up. So then some of the promotion we've done for the county, the Justice Center tours, we've done 3 of those in the past year. We did a Happy Thanksgiving and Happy Holidays video from the Trempealeau County. We actually won an award for that at the Wisconsin Community Media Best of the Midwest Media Fest. And that was a really fun one we had to do with all the departments, or most of them, to kind of just show the human side of the county. Again, working with Clover Dispatch and Clover College, with Andrea, the startup meeting for land management. Jack's trying to do a startup friends group with land management. I mentioned this before, about the Together We Can series we've been doing for quite a while. UW Extension, we did a community gardens video that promoted the community garden in Arcadia. And then, again, the Meet the Candidates series with Melissa. So some of the things that you can't measure, or in a way you can, but they're not always as easily put into numbers. Some of the government transparency that we provide. So far this year, we've covered 50 meetings. Exercise, we run 3 different exercise shows during the day, and people really seem to really care if we air those. If I miss them sometimes when I'm scheduling, people let me know. So they really enjoy the exercise videos, and I know people in the nursing homes, I believe, watch those quite a bit. We provide a lot of education about the history of this county. We promote health, wellness, different public service announcements. I even have a state news show that kind of gives people an update on what's going on in the state. And there's definitely a lot more as well. Some of the entertainment aspects include sports, music, parades, community events, and many more. So some additional tasks, we've definitely helped set up this entire room. It's been quite the challenge working with audio architects out of Chippewa Falls and getting this all together. So that's been a great challenge that we finally finished a couple of months ago. And so really glad that that was something we could cross off our list this year. Assisting staff and board members with the computer issues before and during meetings, we've been doing a lot of that. Not necessarily part of our job title, but it's part of going above and beyond. Planning, setting up, and executing the main functions of this room. I've heard people say this is our room, so we've kind of had to control everything in this room and kind of set everything up. And Jeremy's helped with some of the moving of the different parts, our maintenance director, but it's mainly been up to us to kind of get this room functioning well, and I think we're doing a pretty decent job at that. So that's all I have for that. I'll just stop sharing here in a second. How do I? Oh, yep. Stop share. So, I in my opinion, just based on like the last few meetings, I believe we're a very valuable commodity to the county. I've seen it where the counties or the cities, municipalities have gone away from community media or gotten rid of the staff, and normally the channel follows pretty quickly after that. So I think it'd be very valuable to keep us and just integrate us with the county administrator and have her work with us in some way. I think that would be very valuable to keep us around with our experience instead of starting from scratch and hiring a new person. Just some of the things we do, we do get some church services in. I do very minimal editing on those. Usually, unless they need to be edited, like just chopping off the ends so that way they can fit into an hour time slot. That's about the maximum I'll go on this. So I'm not spending extraordinary times on editing church services. Editing in general just takes a while sometimes too. So I know there's been some criticism about us taking time editing, but it just does take time. If you've worked in this industry and worked in media, it does take time. I've been doing this for 6 years, and there is no fast way of doing it that it looks good. Let me think if there's anything else. I guess that's pretty much it. And I hope to work more with county departments and maybe form a plan where we can all work cohesively together without making some major changes.
Thank you very much. All right.
Chair, I'd like to say something too. So just so you're aware, great presentation. This is the kind of stuff that we got to hear. But I think we got to all be open. So, as a respect to the whole decision of what we got to do and what Rebecca's putting on the table for us, these are the kind of things that need to come up. So I want to make sure everybody's aware that we all got to be open about it, not be negative about anything going one direction or the other direction. But we all got to put our heads together and see what's going to be the best way of doing things. So, and, you know, get it out there to our community also to let them know that this ain't a done deal. This is something that we're talking about. So I know that it means people's lives, it means people's jobs, but I just want to put that on record saying, you know what, let's keep our minds open. Let's let this process run through and see what comes out of it, is what I want to look at. So, but thank you for that presentation. I really appreciate it.
Any other comments from any committee and or staff members? Okay, I will move on to our museum updates.
Well, it's been a busy summer. I guess they always are. But the website is doing well, although I guess I need to talk to the web administrator because Andrea said that there was some pictures that she couldn't access. So try to take care of that. Summer is awfully busy for me, and I don't have a chance to be on my computer a whole lot. But come fall and winter, yes, I will be spending more time there. At the fair, we have the one-room schoolhouse, and we had a lot of people through there this summer. It was for the fair. It was really great. People really enjoy it. The kids like it. And the things that the kids really like in that schoolhouse, one, I have an old typewriter that probably weighs about 70 pounds. And the kids love that. They sit there and they pound on it. They can't hurt it. But that typewriter just fascinates them. That and the little erasable slates that kids used to write on, you know, with chalk. They think they just love that. That's what they go to. I suppose for them it's like a primitive iPad or something. And the other thing that's fun is we have one of the old phones on the wall, the old time with the crank. And when we tell kids that's a telephone, it's like their eyes glaze over because they have never seen a telephone. You know, this is, telephone. This is what they think of. They don't think of that box on the wall. So that's been a lot of fun. And then coming up, we'll be open again for the Apple Affair. And that usually gets a huge amount of people through it, too. And I have a lot of people say, yeah, they love going through all the arts and crafts, but it's a nice break for them to come in and go through the schoolhouse as well. So, like I say, it's been a busy summer, and still with the help of people at WTCO, we are able to get out some of our historical videos. We've been doing a series on the Twin Cities of Trempealeau County. That would be Dodge and Pine Creek. And we've had a lot of people that have really loved that. It's just been a wonderful resource, and we've been working with the Arcadia Area Historical Society, and they're great. And I do get a lot of emails from people that are doing genealogy. And you know what the number one hobby in the United States is now? It is genealogy. And people will want to know about their great-grandmother, or maybe they saw one of the shows that Mary C. Anderson and I do when we're out in a cemetery, and they say, oh, that was my Aunt Clara's grave, and we are coming to Trempealeau County, and we want to see where she's buried, and we want to see where she lived, and drive around and look at things. So believe me, you can get money from genealogy and people that come and want to connect again with the county. I guess that's basically it. And I'm quickly going to put in a plug for Kevin and Danny, because you've got two really good employees here. And I am not a computer techno person at all. And anytime I need help, they are ready and willing, and they never make me feel stupid, and I appreciate that. Any questions?
Thank you, Mary. Educator reports, C, item C. Yeah, who's starting?
I can start. You all should have an educator report in your packet for this. Three main buckets that my work falls into: youth education, family education, and then building capacity of those organizations that serve those populations. So under youth education, teaching, coordinating direct STEM education programs. STEM is a pretty loose term, and a lot of times in recent years it has shifted. It's under STEM, but it's more career pathways discussion. So linking youth in the county to all the different positions they could have either within the county or they might, be what sparks their interest moving forward. So working with them at the elementary age, there's a lot of kind of career pathway stuff in the middle and certainly in the high school that's provided within the county. So working with youth when they're younger to ensure that they've kind of keep their minds open and don't, I'm not a science person or like, I don't like science. It's like, well, anyone can be a scientist, anyone can be an engineer. So like, hop in there, get messy, play with slime, engineer catapults, whatever it is that is interesting. Part of that is direct education that we provide. You'll see in the pictures there our summer science camp. So we sell out in a matter of days, but we reach our capacity in a matter of days. We had 61 youth this year. In one of the pictures, you'll see my daughter. This is her first time being able to be a part of the program, which is exciting because I started this in 2013. And so, COVID or whatever else, it's been more than 10 years that it's been ongoing, picked up by multiple educators, and it's an office-wide lift. So educators, you'll see Melissa's there, Andrea's there, Tammy's there. Pat was there. She volunteered some of her time. And I may be missing a few others. And we have volunteers that have come in from all over the county. And so this is one of the few things in the county that brings youth together from, youth from Ettrick and Independence are meeting each other maybe for the first time, because a lot of stuff happens in Independence for Independence kids or in Ettrick for Ettrick kids. So this is a chance for them to come together and meet each other. We also work with, or I've been working with like libraries, 4-H events, other organizations to bring in myself as an educator to work with youth. We'll be setting up this fall. One of the things that I do that crosses over is working with the Head Starts in the area to provide fatherhood education. I was one of the authors of a fatherhood report with an extension that's been disseminated to Human Services and other organizations around about the value of fatherhood and fathers as parents, and so working with dads in the area directly, one-on-one or within small groups to kind of just support them in their parenting has been a key thing that I've been working on. In family education, reentry skills, stress management, and parenting, it says remotely, but it's in person in the Trempealeau County Jail. So I'll go in there a couple of times a week and work with people one-on-one. Part of it's just kind of the baseline, kind of positive thinking, behavioral management, things that would allow them to get employment or at least, figure out how to navigate the world, get employment, get a stable place to stay and re-enter the workforce if that's something that's in the cards for them. Diversion agreements, same thing, working with Megan Peterson in the DA's office to kind of support people as they kind of enter the justice system, and then they, instead of being formally charged, they can go through a series of interventions that hopefully lead to them, never having to see Megan or the justice system again. And part of that is like budgeting, part of that is stress management, part of that is like sitting down with them. I sat down with one young lady who's a mother of two, and like we sat down and we called and we set up her GED scheduling, and I met with her a month later and she said, "Thank you so much for doing that. If we didn't do it then, I'm not sure that I would do that. And because we set up that GED, now I'm practicing for the citizenship test for it. I'm getting my youth enrolled in these different programs because of that momentum caused from that intervention of like me sitting down with her and seeing her as a person and working with her to get her where she needs to go." And one of the things she identified was that GED test. So, and I've set up kind of monthly meetings with her to check in on our progress and see how her kids are doing and see how her family's doing. Because a lot of times when we think about the justice system, we think about like there's a perpetrator, we need to figure out the best way to, whether it's punishment or whatever, to them, but we don't see the ecosystem around them of they are most often parents, their children, their husbands or wives, and all of those people are affected by whatever kind of happens to them within the justice system. So that's part of the thing I do as a parenting educator in the justice system. And then the last thing is just that building capacity, where a lot of that work goes into. I think one of the points that we talk about is a $2,500 grant that we received the Wisconsin Arts Board. That's kind of one of the main roles of Extension is we are very well connected. So this was brought to us from a community member that then reached out to a library. The library thought about us for how do we best. So the Wisconsin Arts Board said, we haven't supported Trempealeau County or really seen Trempealeau County much, and we give grants to, all the big ones, Madison, Milwaukee. It's like, but as part of their 75th anniversary, like, oh yeah, we need to make sure that we reach all the counties. So it's a little bit showy, but we'll take it. And part of that was they were just trying to figure out, part of it is the infrastructure. Who do you reach out to in Trempealeau County for arts? It's like, well, maybe the schools, maybe a library, but because Extension was linked to a Mexican folkloric dance 4-H club that Andrea's and I and Monica Komrowski have worked to build up, we said, oh, yep, that's a natural fit. We worked with that 4-H club leader, and they're able to afford, being able to go around and share some of their cultural arts with other people, being able to afford some of the materials that they need to function. So it's just an example of Extension as a mechanism to bring resources into the county from elsewhere by having kind of a landing spot for that or a way to kind of communicate that to others. And then there's just a whole, one of the other big things from the summer was just community listening sessions in the City of Independence that we talked about last time and being able to share that report with the librarian. I'm not sure exactly where it's gone from this point, but I need to follow up to see how that's been shared with the actual city board there to make some of their strategic planning decisions into the future. And then there's just the whole laundry list of different groups that I either oversee directly, help to coordinate, or facilitate strategic planning and kind of capacity building for.
Adam, I had a question for you.
Yeah.
For the jail being bigger,
Yeah.
is it taking more of your time now, being that there's more inmates?
Certainly. That's part of the discussion that we hear about a jail programming coordinator in other jails that are similarly sized now, that we have a larger population. Some of those conversations come to the forefront of having somebody in the jail who can be dedicated to that. I know that the jail is kind of rehiring and they have open positions. So they're doing a monumental effort to make sure that they can keep and train qualified folks there. And we're having people housed from Jackson County there as well. So we're
Right.
providing some support in that regard to them. And they're providing some support as well as far as when people come, Jackson County spent some of their opioid settlement funding on a programming person. So
Oh, good. Or
That's-
is it just you doing all this when it comes to the jail, or do you have other people that talk to these inmates?
It's been primarily myself to kind of push some of these efforts forward. And one of the things that if we were to have a coordinator in the jail is that working with groups like RCU or retired social workers or this Ruth group that's in here or the libraries is they are kind of at the point where they could, if there was somebody coordinating and somebody kind of streamlining the process, they could lend their services to that population because they serve the community. But there's been a lot of kind of general barriers to getting people in there. One was the old facility was very difficult, and there were retirements and a whole host of other things that just made it difficult. And one of the things I've been working with that group with as the forefront is trying to streamline some of those processes, making sure that onboarding, we can work out some of those kinks to make sure that it's reasonable for people to be able to teach in the jail, whether that's a Narcotics Anonymous class or being able to have parents who are there be able to read stories to their children and send those to the children to make the impact of incarceration less traumatic for those youth. So those are kind of some things that we could, if I were able to devote additional time to that effort that we could bring in. And just as another note, I am currently at 60% in the county as part of a buyout for some statewide work that will be ending next summer. So I'm looking at the options and possibilities to ramp up some of my parenting education at that point, including incarcerated audiences.
Awesome. Thank you.
Any questions? All right.
Good morning. I'm April, the Foodwise Coordinator for Trempealeau, Jackson, Buffalo, and Pepin. Just a reminder that summer is Foodwise's slower season, which is much needed. So I reduced my appointment to 60% in the summer for that reason, plus to help with the budget. So during summer, it is a wonderful opportunity to complete some trainings that have been simmering on the back burner during the school year when it's our busy season. So both Muriel and I have been checking off some of our trainings. She's also working on still her onboarding training process, so she's been doing a lot of work with that, which is why she's not here this morning. She's actually attending an online training for part of that cohort. I have been asked to be part of a Foodwise regional planning work group. We meet in person once a year, each region of Foodwise. So we have the South, the North, and then the Metro. And so they asked key Foodwise players to be part of the planning for that. So I've been meeting via Zoom with a work group, planning what we're going to do for a particular session at our in-person trainings that are coming up. Also was requested to see if we had any schools that wanted to get a grant. It's called the Meal Appeal Grant, where schools can get $1,000 towards making school meals more appealing to kids. And so Blair Taylor School District has opted into that grant, and so we're working together to get that process started for them. And then, of course, I provide the nutrition education for that school in collaboration with what this grant will do. So working through that process. And then now as the school year is lingering, reaching out to partners. So I just emailed all principals this last week, getting staffing updates, finding out who those key contacts will be for our partnerships for the school year. So in Trempealeau County, that means we're working with Arcadia Elementary. We're going to be in 4K kindergarten and second grade this school year. We'll be at Arcadia Middle School in the 5th grade. We'll be at Blair Taylor Elementary, 4K kindergarten, 2nd and 5th grade. Independence Elementary, same grade levels. Whitehall Elementary, same grade levels. And then we're working in the Head Start centers in both Blair Taylor, Arcadia, Independence, and now the Gail Ettrick Trempealeau School District has a Head Start. That Head Start center was at Cochrane Fountain City in Buffalo County, and they've now dispersed to the Gail Ettrick Trempealeau School District. So we'll be partnering with them at that location. And then we also do older adult lessons at Parkview Housing and Independence. So gearing up for that programming for our school year. I did attach the free and reduced price lunch status because I look at that every July to find out who our partners can and can't be for the school year. So just a reminder, Foodwise partners with people who are 50% or more free and reduced rate of lunch, or that the population in the room needs to be at least 50% food share eligible. So if I were doing a program in this room, half of us would need to be food share eligible for me to be able to do my work. That's part of our grant funding through USDA. So in Trempealeau County, I've outlaid, where the schools fall in their free and reduced rate. The highlighted schools are the ones that we could partner with, and then the starred schools are the ones we actually partner with. Due to capacity of staff and time, I would love to be in the middle school and high school more, but we just don't have enough staffing, nor does our budget allow for an additional staff member at this point in time to be able to do that work. So we focus most of our attention on those 4K kindergarten, 2nd and 5th grade classrooms at the schools that I have starred there. And again, this is always something we're watching for, especially in the July timeframe, to see where schools fall. And if they're eligible for us to come into the schools. We've had a few school districts that teeter right around that 50%. Blair Taylor and Whitehall typically are the ones that we're watching for to, make sure they still qualify. It's that double-edged sword of where you want a school district to get to that point where they're below, but then if they're at 49, we still have almost half of the population that's food share eligible, so there's still a need, but it's that magic cutoff for our federal funding. You got to stop somewhere, exactly. That's right, or those pop-up showers that end up happening a lot.
Curious why you look in July. Like, I suppose you have to for planning, but I know, like, for school registration and stuff doesn't start until, just the last few weeks, and that's when they have to do
We get the updated numbers
it.
from the previous school year.
So it's always based on the previous school
Yep,
year.
and then we get the new ones. There's the magic third Friday of September is where those numbers come in. But we have to have something to go with, and
Sure.
usually it's that July timeframe to get the past year's data, which isn't the most up-to-date. So that's where there have been years where some schools, if they're really, really close, I get that 3rd September number to find out, and then we're like, oh yeah, we can partner with you. Or, oh, nope, you've fallen below. So I can go back in and say, yes, we can, or no, we can't, but usually it's based off of those July numbers from the previous.
Okay, thank you.
School year. Really good question.
So you pretty much, depends on how close they are at the cutoff, if you know for sure.
Yeah, because at some point we have to start that planning process, and my calendar's already got sticky notes all over with potential plans and where everything's gonna fit. The nice part about this school year is I'm not alone, so I have a partner who I'm able to share that programming with. So Muriel will see me do the lesson in Blair Taylor, and then she'll take that lesson to Whitehall and Arcadia and Independence, and then I'll focus in on the other counties of schools. So I have a partner this year to do that. The planning is gonna be much, much easier to be able to take that show on the road in 2 ways instead of just one. So I'm not covering 20 classrooms this school year myself. I get to share those responsibilities, which I'm very much looking forward to. Yeah. Any questions?
I got one more question for you. When it comes to food in the middle schools and things like that, your high school, the kids love it.
Yeah.
The middle school, there's just not a lot to pick from, and they can't get enough food to fill them up. There's just not enough food there. I mean, my kids complain all the time. They just don't give us enough. I mean, it's just such a small portion. I know you probably don't have control over that, but I mean, is there anything that we can do to talk to them? I mean, I guess it's just an open question of how we can fix something like that, or if we
Yeah.
can.
A lot of federal funding around that and federal regulations on serving sizes, portions, what gets offered. So that food service director is really the key connecting point to that.
Okay.
And getting that feedback. And so that's where some of these grants that are out there are trying to tackle some of that. How do we make the food look more appealing? How do we
Right.
cater to, new things that are going to be tried? Let's do some food tastings and give the kids a chance to try it, and then they'll get excited about what that is. But yeah, that's a loud and clear thing that's been said a lot, is the portion sizes of our growing kids.
Yeah.
They're just not getting enough.
No.
And in some of our schools, that is their most well-balanced meal of the day, where they're getting all 5
That's
food groups. They're getting the most nutrition options in their day. And so we've got to make that count.
And that's when, they're the ones, they're growing. In
Yeah.
that middle school area, I mean, they're really pushing some energy, and so,
Definitely a valid concern, and it's been heard. And I
Good.
found the red tape and the.
yeah, but it's good to hear that's been
some of
heard,
those
so
things.
that's awesome, thank you.
But it is being discussed.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm Steve Ockenick, the agriculture educator, if any of you don't know who I am. So this summer's been busy for me, so I started out the season with insect monitoring traps. And what we monitor is the adult stage or the moth stage, because these insects that we're looking for start out as a caterpillar. That's a juvenile and most destructive stage. Pupate into a moth, we're able to attract the moth with pheromone traps. So then each week, so this evening when I get home, the traps are relatively close to my home. They're all within a mile. So then I'll count the moths and report that to the state. So it's part of Department of Ag, Trade, and Consumer Protection. They have an insect monitoring program. We start out the season with black cutworm, and that's a moth species that flies in from Iowa and Illinois area where they overwinter, and then they cut off young crops because they're out there in May and can destroy quite a bit if there's enough of them. Then we switch to western bean cutworm and earworm. Also armyworm was in the mix of what we monitored. And I have them in western Jackson County because on the DATCAP map, there was a big gap there. There was some monitoring in northwest Buffalo County, Eau Claire County, and some in central Clark County, but we didn't have any in this middle area here. So what that does is all of us around the state send our numbers into DATCAP, and they produce a map and count numbers, and then farmers and agronomists are able to okay, I've got a lot in my area, I'll start watching specifically for those insects. So about middle of September, we'll finish off the season. So right now I'm monitoring for corn earworm, fall armyworm, today will be the last day I count the western bean cutworm moths. And then two of the 5 traps that I've got are part of a statewide effort looking at if there's a difference between fields that had cover crops on them and then no cover crops. Because one of the barriers to adoption for cover crops among farmers is that it can attract insects, because cutworms and armyworms, they look for fields that have a lot of cover on them, a lot of grass and that type of stuff. So if we can show, yes, there is a difference or not, you know, in the amount of insects that are out there, then we can help people manage and get over that hurdle a little bit. So that's been a whole summer-long effort there. And then some of the local stuff I've done, I assisted a Amish farmer in Buffalo County. He had 3/4 of an acre of tomatoes under the high tunnels. They're different from greenhouse because they plant right in the ground. So that's a lot of tomatoes under a high tunnel. And he had a disease in there. It was a bacterial blight. Early blight is what it was called. So I took pictures. I'm not a tomato expert by any means. I took pictures and sent them in to the state, and we were able to help him out that way. So he's got some recommendations for next season. Nothing we can cure and help him out this year, but that was good to do. Also, there was a Western Wisconsin land conservation staff tour that went through primarily Buffalo County. So just across the border in Buffalo County, there's a farmer, Joe Brager, that I work with, and he has got a nitrogen optimization pilot program test plot on his farm. I'll talk more about that later. So the tour came through his farm, so I talked about that plot myself, and Lindsay Rushford, who's the head of that NOPP program with Extension. So we talked about that. We had about 45 people come to that tour, so that was a really good one. So the NOPP plots, there's one in Jackson County and one in, like I said, Buffalo County on Joe Brager's farm. So both of those plots were using manure and looking at manure with varying rates of nitrogen, so manure or no manure with the nitrogen rate, so that we can find out how the corn responds to the manure and the nitrogen, so we can help farmers pick that optimum rate. So last year with the dry weather out at Brager's, the optimum rate was about 120 to 130 pounds of nitrogen, and he was still getting 200 bushel corn off of that field. So it's not 200 pounds of nitrogen to get 200 bushels of corn, which is a common thought out there. So we're over applying nitrogen out there, and these plots are helping people to see that that's not the case. And then in southern Trempealeau County here, Sam Bibby and his father grow sunflowers. They just sell them directly to people to feed birds with. So in Wisconsin, sunflower is a very minor crop. We don't have many acres of sunflower, so there wasn't a nitrogen recommendation for sunflowers. Most of the sunflower research comes from North Dakota or Kansas. So obviously much different climates in both of those states than what we have here in Wisconsin. So Sam has a nitrogen optimization plot out there for sunflowers. He had a field day a couple of weeks ago. I spoke at that about how to conduct on-farm research. A lot of farmers think, well, we'll just split the field. This half of the field will get treatment with product X and this half won't. Well, there's a lot of variation as you go across a field, different soil types, different slopes, where it sits on the slope and that sort of thing. So I talked about how to get your best results with replication and statistical analysis and why we need to do that. There was, 35 people at that field day. So that was a good plot. And then just the week before last, did tractor safety in Buffalo County, and we had 13 students. We had a really good group of students. It was really enjoyable to teach them tractor and farm safety. And so I assisted Todd Mao. He's a retired USDA person who does some substitute teaching in Elma School District, probably other areas too. So I assisted him and Roxanne Weisenbeck do the tractor safety over there, and man, it really went well. The kids, like I said, kids were great. And I really value that program, that tractor and farm safety program, because farming is the second or third most dangerous industry in the United States, and anybody that's been involved in agriculture any amount of time has horror stories of what can and does happen. So we need to really drive that home. Also, August 29th at the Wamandee Country Bar, we're having a informational meeting about phosphorus. So the Extension Water Quality Program has a program they're starting called STP, Soil Test Phosphorus. And what that is testing soil at 2-inch depth and 6-inch depth for phosphorus levels. So what we're looking for is no-till fields, preferably no-till fields with cover crops. I have a cooperator in western Jackson County that has some rotational grazing, which is no-till with cover crops, really. I mean, you're not doing tillage, and there's always something growing out there. So we're going to look at those fields, see if we're getting stratification of phosphorus. The issue with phosphorus is surface water quality. So it was always the idea that if we stop or minimize erosion, we can stop or minimize phosphorus moving into surface waters, because phosphorus clings very tightly onto soil particles and organic matter. The issue is, as we move to reduced tillage and no tillage, is that we're not incorporating that phosphorus in that 6 or 8 inch plow layer like we used to do. Now it's staying up in that top inch or two. If we get, and so we take a soil sample, a routine soil sample is 6 inches deep. So if we sample that soil 6 inches deep, we come out, oh, we've got a medium phosphorus test on this field. We're good to go. But most of the phosphorus is in that top inch or two. And as we drive soil test phosphorus levels in that top inch or two a lot higher, we can get soluble phosphorus running off in clear water. We're not getting soil erosion, we're not putting sediment in the streams, but we're still getting phosphorus into those streams and lakes, and that's why Lake Henry and Blair is so ugly this time of year, because we've got such high phosphorus levels in there. So the farmers are really doing a good job doing no-till and cover crops, but, you know, there's never just, oh, here's our solution. Here's our solution, here's another problem. So that's what we're trying to figure out. We're also trying to get no-till fields without cover crops and no-till fields with cover crops. Are the cover crops helping to distribute that phosphorus through that 6-8 inches, or are they contributing to that stratification up near the surface? So we've introduced solutions to problems. We've probably introduced a few other problems. So, and Nancy put you right on the spot here. Nancy's going to come and record that program on the 29th, assuming schedules allow. So then that will be on the TCC site. So,
Steve, I got a question for you.
Yes.
So with the worms and the moths,
yep.
just so I understand, how does that work? You find a problem, how do you eliminate the problem? Have they, I mean, is there a way to eliminate the problem, or are we just looking for the problem?
No. So okay, let's say armyworms. I find a huge count of armyworm moths. Then the farmers and agronomists monitor for them, watch their fields, because we can have a lot of moths that lay a lot of eggs, but if weather conditions don't work out, all of the eggs wash off the plant or whatever. We don't have a hatch. Now, if we have a hatch and there's feeding, then we've got insecticides we can use on conventional crops. There are some BT, Bacillus thuringiensis, that can be used on some organic crops, and then that paralyzes the gut of only caterpillars, Lepidopteran species.
So this is basically a year to year to year to year monitoring. This ain't, let's kick this this year and in 5 years, we're gonna be fine. This is a year to year.
Oh, yeah, year-to-year thing. And it's, so on my experience of doing crop consulting, there would be one field on a farm that would just be hammered with army worms. Cross the field road, no barrier whatsoever. Cross the field road, maybe a different side of the ridge, nothing. It's just that field maybe right next to the wood line or something like that. So it's year by year, week by week, field by field.
And
Yep.
the farmers need to come to you if they want guidance. You don't necessarily find them and say, hey, look, this is where it's at. I mean,
No, so I report the numbers to DATCAP, and then DATCAP publishes this. People subscribe and get it. I get it in my email. I get this report in my email. I'm like, ooh, there's a lot of, cutworms in Rock County, for instance. And then it's up to them to go. I mean, I will assist a farmer if they come to me, hey, I got army worms, what do I do?
So they communicate it out as much as they
Yep, they
possibly can.
communicate it out, yeah.
Okay,
Yep,
good to know.
Yep.
Thank you.
yep.
Steve, I also have a question. I've been noticing for a really long time, but I always fail to ask. There are signs up around the healthcare center that say test plots.
Yeah.
But are they test plots? I feel like those signs have been there for a really long time.
Yeah, so that's part of the Buffalo Trempealeau Farmer Network program, and I work with that group as an advisor. So that's a group of farmers that came together. They get a grant each year from DATCAP for cover cropping and education. They've got a field day coming up on the 22nd at 3 in the afternoon. They load buses at Darren Malashevsky's, the robot dairy out on Highway 93, or the big dairy out there. And then they're going to go around and look at different farms that are doing no-till and cover cropping and soil health practices. So those signs, and it's one of those, I see them so many times I don't even know what they say anymore. There's one of them is like a butterfly habitat, I think, down on the bottom right when you cross the tracks west of the healthcare center. And so that was some land that was that was marginal. It was kind of sandy, and that producer got cost share money to plant prairie habitat, basically with an emphasis on wildflowers for pollinators. So it took some marginal land out of production and put it into habitat for pollinators.
So we don't have a lot to do with that.
No.
Because the signs, of course, say that would suggest that we do. So I guess that's what is confusing to me. Trempealeau County test plot or something to that nature.
If there's a county involvement, I'm not involved much with it. Like I said, I'm an advisor to that group. I work with them and help them out on a few things. So in the fall, I measure how much biomass they got from their cover crop growth. The big thing is in corn in this area. Like if we were in central Illinois, we could combine corn in, first through the middle of October and go in and seed a lot of different types of cover crops. So we don't have that option here because our season is done once corn comes off. So they're interseeding cover crops like 2 months ago into standing corn, and then they want to see how much biomass they've got out there. So I go out and I do some sampling and record weights on that. So I am involved with that group in different ways, but I'd have to go read the signs again to see what they are, but I know there's some different things they're doing out there.
I just would suggest that we do look at the signs, because if we're not really involved in something, I kind of hate to say that we are. And if we are, is it our responsibility or is it the other? I don't know, just look at the signs. Are they still appropriate?
Yeah, right.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
I'll take it as my turn. So, Andrea Ripley Schleiss, 4-H program educator. I am going to share, hang on, I need to pull the right thing up. So I have always a pretty busy summer because I'm most of the time not always in the office because we're doing camp or we're doing the fair. And I did a pretty cool program at the fair this year that I wanted to talk a little bit about. It is called a goose chase. So it's like an app, and kids can it's like a photo scavenger hunt app, and they could take pictures of things. So I decided at the fair, honestly, I decided this on Monday of the fair, that I'm like, I want something that kids can do, mainly kids who are showing, that'll keep them entertained. Not saying that they get in trouble, but once you're done showing, you're kind of like, oh, now what do I do? Let's give them something else that they could do. So I made, essentially, like, this program is available to us through the university, so I kind of made up some missions for them to complete, and then I made some posters and I put it at the fair, and I'm like, I don't know. I might not have a lot of participation. I was actually quite impressed, and I had, one of the missions was for them to find me, because I'm like, I'm there, I will be there, and, extension something will be on. So I actually had 13 active teams, and I got a lot of really good feedback. Kids loved this. And I'll show you guys some of the photo submissions in a second, but I figured we'd show graphs because some people like graphs, and graphs are kind of cool. So these were all of the active teams, and the most active one, oh shoot, that's cut off. So Goplin Swine, they had 66 submissions total. I believe they completed all of them, along with Pig Barbecue. I'm sorry, but their names are hilarious, and that really got me, because I was never good at making up usernames for anything. So I'm like, how'd you think of that one? But they had 65 submissions, and then we had Oceanic Outlaws, the Wiggly Downs. So the funny part about this, these three, I know who they are. They were all 4-H members. These people weren't. The Wiggly Downs, their grandma is actually the food stand manager, and they were never able to be in 4-H. And I kept watching them. I'm like, who are these kids? They're just really going for it, because I didn't anticipate that people who weren't in 4-H would be participating in this. So I thought that was
I'm
something
pleasantly
fun.
surprised.
Right? I was too. This is another 4-H'er, and then this is one of my Cloverbud 4-H'ers. So really great kids that participated. So I'll show you guys their submissions. So they were all pretty I was hoping that they would take them around the fair, go to a place they might not have gone. I asked some ag questions because that's my background, and I'm like, one of them, I'll have to remember what it was, but it stumped a bunch of kids. So I had them find 2 cars in the parking lot that are black that are next to each other. Take a picture under a light bulb. Stack 40 pennies together. So then I had some kids coming up to me, because one of them was make a pirate hat out of a newspaper, and they're like, Andrea, where do you find a newspaper at the fairgrounds? And I'm like, I don't know. I was hoping that would take you a while so that you could figure it out. So they were great. Oh, they had to play leapfrog. So some of these are videos where they were playing leapfrog. And as you can tell, these kids show pigs, so then they were doing this at night after all the shows were done. So I thought that was fantastic. Let me see, I also wanted them to go and find people, specific people. So, where is it? Oh, see, they did find a newspaper. Also, you guys will understand this a lot more than me. I mean, granted, I had them growing up. I had them to find a cassette tape. 3 people found cassette tapes while at the fair. Wow. I thought they weren't going to figure that one out.
I'm old enough to remember cassette plays, but I'm probably right at the cutoff of remember. Wow.
Well, we had them growing up too. My parents listened to them, but I was like, where'd you find your cassette tapes?
Nowadays, yeah.
So, yeah. So they had to make, do some dancing. I wanted them to find a grand champion animal and take a picture with it. They had to find someone who could juggle. Not everyone could juggle, but I gave them submission points anyway. Big rocks, because rocks are cool. Just my own personal thing. But then I asked them questions so fiber in my being was, there's 4 different animals at the fair that produce fiber that we can make into textiles. What are they? So then I had them take a picture of an animal that creates fiber. I wanted them to use the GPS to be at the ticket stand. They had to find fair board members and take pictures with them. Introduce them to some of their fair board members, which, they're all pretty great. Well, I won't say that these don't count, but Kellen Nelson's kids were one of the ones that participated, and he's on the fair board. So I'm like, does that count? That's your dad. I'll give it to you. That's fair.
They got an inside scoop there.
They kind of did have the inside scoop.
Well, it looks like you gave him 36,000 points for it too. What's up that?
Yeah, so I could give them extra points for some things. Oh, I had them pick up garbage because let's just keep picking up garbage. Ooh, give her the beans. This was the one that they kept picking the wrong thing. The answer was soybeans because I was like, it's something that we can use for food that we can eat, something that animals eat, and then something that can be used for biodiesel. And kids kept taking pictures of apples. So I'm like, we need to have a conversation about that. But yeah, so I thought it went pretty well. They really got into it, and obviously there was 6 submissions of people that found me, which I was like, perfect, good, that was the whole point. Yeah, because these girls, they were looking, they're like, where the heck is Andrea? And I happened to be working in the food stand, and their grandma's like, she's actually right over here. And they're like, oh, we found her. So it was really great. I'm hoping to use this program again for National 4-H Week, which is coming up on October 6th through the 12th, to be like a county-wide thing, so we don't have to be in one specific place. I'm going to have to figure out what type of questions I want to ask, but I mean, kids already have their phones out. Why don't we make them do something fun with the phones and interact with other kids? And this, I thought, went really well. And
I have an idea. Maybe we can have them find certain landmarks in the county and ideas.
I mean, we could do that. I want to try
Gazebo.
not to make it so that they have to go anywhere because I don't
Okay.
know if they can drive, and I don't want them to then leave their house unattended. You know, like
Because
that's
even if they can drive, you may not want them to leave even so,
well,
yeah.
I mean, I don't want to be pushing them into places they shouldn't be. But yeah, so I thought that this was really a fun thing to do at the fair because normally I spend most of the time at the fair talking to volunteers that I don't normally get to see and really trying to make connections. Something that came out of my fair this year, I noticed that we have a lot of really strong livestock exhibitors. And so I had asked a couple parent volunteers that I have, one of them being he's a current county fair judge. So he judges livestock. And I'm like, hey, Marlon, would you be interested in starting a livestock judging team for our county? And if I could get enough kids, would we do this? And he's like, oh, absolutely. So that's something I'm going to now work on this year is give some older kids another leadership opportunity, but also a judging opportunity. Because through 4-H, we do have a lot of great opportunities to do judging. We have a skill-a-thon event, and then there's a yearly judging event that starts first in March. And then there's another one in the summer, and then there was kids from Wisconsin that went to nationals last year. So they got to judge at the Louisville Livestock Show and the Nile, which are really big national livestock events. So I'm hoping that we have some kids that probably would be good enough to do that, but also give them another leadership opportunity. So that's what I've been working on lately. Beyond that, I won't call it my pet project, but I've been working on a 4-H history video that I'm hoping to team up with the TV studio on because I am not a video editor. I can do a lot of other things. Video editing is not something I want to take on. Why not use our amazing people that we already have here? So I've been looking up old 4-H newspaper articles. So I actually went to the library last week and I was using a microfile to look them up. I've done it before, but it was just super cool to do it again because I'm trying to figure out, okay, we have over 100 years of 4-H history in this county. What were they doing at some of the times? Who were some of the key people? And then I'm hoping to do some interviews here. I was hoping to have it done by October. That was just a nice deadline that I'm not going to make. So I think we're just going to keep working on it because I want it to be good.
Can't wait to see it.
Yes. And so if you guys actually know of somebody or your previous, your grandparents were really strongly involved in 4-H, I'm looking for some pictures because that's something I'm not finding as much. Specific, people showing or they were at a 4-H event. I have some, but I don't always, our office doesn't hang on to history stuff as well as not as well as we could. We don't have a lot of space to do it. So if you know somebody who has some, or if you have some, I would totally be interested in scanning it and keeping a copy. So other than that, I know I did a short thing, but I didn't want to take as long. But what do you guys have any questions for me? Sweet.
Thank you.
I'd also like to point out that Melissa Kono has a report in the packet, so please take a look at that as well. She couldn't be with us today.
All right, on to our interim director report.
Yes, good morning. So again, I'm Kristen Bruder. I'm the interim director for Extension here in Trempealeau County in Area 9. Just a couple of things that I wanted to discuss with you all today. One, just a brief update on the search for the area director. We did have an offer out. That offer was declined. So we have failed the search. So that position will be reposted here in a couple of days. We really, truly are looking for the right candidate for this position and not settling on just any candidate. So just really taking our time and making sure that this area gets what they deserve as we move forward. What does that mean in terms of the interim? I'll continue on through September with all 4 counties. Jason Hausler is also supporting the areas as well. You've met Jason in the past, and I think he's watching on YouTube right now on the TV channel. Then Jason and I are going to continue to support the area together. I'll mainly be supporting Buffalo and Pepin, and Jason will be mainly supporting Trempealeau and Jackson. And so you'll see another shift. So, but he is a familiar face. But Jason will, unless of course, we'll be tag teaming and working together. So if he is not able to make a meeting and I can, I'll be here. So we're still going to be working together, supporting the area, but a little bit more of a divide and conquer as we move forward. So I'll help to shepherd the budget through September, and then Jason will step into that role a little bit more. So that's an update on that. In terms of what I've been up to the last 5 or 6 weeks that I've been in this interim role, really trying to, of course, budget season and interesting time to jump into a county when you're trying to learn the county, trying to understand the budget process, and every county does budgets differently. I will attest to that. And so just really been trying to build those relationships, work with our Administrator Gluen on some of the questions that she's had with Extension, learning about the staff, working with the staff on the budget. So just really taking some time to understand the budget process and then understand the needs of this Extension department here in Trempealeau County. As you know, there has been some proposed cuts by our administrator for in the Extension department. So we've been in Jason and I have been in conversation with her about those. If you have any questions, we're very transparent and open about the process or what our discussions are with these proposed cuts. So please feel free to contact me or talk with me or any of the staff, for that matter, about how these might impact our office. With that, unless the staff has anything that I missed, is there any questions?
How many applicants did you have for the position?
We had, Adam, if you can remind me, 16 or 18 applicants. Yep.
Nice pool.
We did. We had a really nice pool.
I had some interviews too I participated in.
Kevin came to the interviews and met 2 of the candidates. We had a good pool. We had a good candidate that we did extend the offer. They did decline that offer. They had another offer on the table. There was just pieces of some of the candidates where we just felt like we needed a stronger skill set. And so we're reopening that, and we're hopeful that we'll get another large pool for that position.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
No other questions for our acting director or interim director? Thank you very much for filling in the role.
Yeah, thank you, Kevin.
Okay, next item is item 6A. 2025 budget discussion.
So Kevin asked me to put the budget into the packet. I understand your process is a little bit different this year with the new administrator, so I think we're all kind of wondering how, or working through that process and figuring that out as we go. I did include the budget that I submitted to Administrator Gluen, and in that budget, you'll note there is about a 23% reduction on the budget that I put forward. Part of that is the horticulture position, so that position is not being refilled. That position was a quarter time, I believe, and fully paid by the county. And so that was not a co-funded position with the state. So that position was in collaboration with, is it Buffalo? Jackson, thank you. Jackson County, and they too had decided not to refill that position. So the rest of the cuts just came, just a few aligning in the contractual services line. Sometimes we don't know what actuals are, and so I was able to acquire those numbers from our state. And so a few of those, as you can see in that budget, I do have, well, you actually can't see in the budget, but in there, all of the co-funded positions, including community development, is reflected in that budget. And so that's, we're at about a $40,000 reduction with the budget that I put forward for extension, without the reduction to our co-funded position, community development, and Tammy's reduction by 50%. So if you have any questions on that, I'm happy to answer any questions. It has been submitted through the proper channels and in the administrator's hands.
So to clarify, the budget that we received, the information that we received, is reflective of all of the changes that were?
No.
Okay, so will there be another updated budget that is reflective of that then?
That will come from the administrator's office. So Administrator Gluen, my understanding, will be putting together her budget that she will produce and bring forward to the county board. All department heads are asked to put forward a budget in their departments based on what they see,
see.
in terms of what their department can or can't reduce.
Got it.
And
Okay.
so, so the budget I put forward is from the department as I see, without cuts to the positions.
Okay, thank you.
And just to clarify as well, I did work with the staff on the budget, so I did not do it in a vacuum. The staff was very integral in developing that budget.
Appreciate it. I know the decision is ultimately up to the department head, but I do appreciate, at least me, can't speak for the rest of the committee that involves the staff. Even though the decision is yours in the end, I appreciate the team approach. Any other questions about the?
Can I just jump in to give a little bit of information? Can you hear me?
Yes. Go ahead.
And I'm sorry, I apologize. I'm homesick today, so I'm just listening. But and so just to, I have had really good conversations with Kristen, and yes, and so we're working together through budget, and so those conversations will continue, and we're talking through things, and so I'll continue to bring those things forward as we move forward in the budget process.
Okay, thank you. I hope you feel better.
Thank you. Thanks.
All right. Letter C, Wisconsin Arts Board grant discussion and/or action.
So this is a resolution, so this was talked about. Do you have that in your packet? Do you see that in your packet? Yes, okay. So this is a resolution just bringing forward that $2,500 that was awarded, and through the arts programming. And Adam, I don't know if you want to talk a little bit more about it. Adam gave a little bit of the information in his report. We're just asking that this money be accepted by the county and used by extension in the ways that the grant has been applied for.
Yeah, So this folkloric dance group, they're a brand new 4-H club, which if you think about Wisconsin writ large or the country writ large, having a brand new 4-H club that's vibrant, has a lot of members, meets regularly, doesn't happen every day or year. And so that's very exciting, and there's a lot of energy and excitement for that within the 4-H world. And one of the things about 4-H is like it is by and large serving kind of a rural white population, and it's a federal program, and so its existence is depends upon making sure that we reach all the people in the state. And so this is one of the efforts to make sure that we are making sure that the efforts of the 4-H and the resources of 4-H are open and accessible to all. So having this group needing to be started up, there's some costs associated with that. And the club leader is eager to be able to present and share with all of the different organizations that typically serve communities. So like libraries, the Wannick Center, all these different groups would benefit from having a group like this be able to provide education and presentations on who they are. And we hear that a lot from between the independence listening sessions and other organizations is how do we bridge the gap between the Latino culture in these communities and the whiter, the Caucasian cultures within these communities. And this is one of those examples that there would be an option to be able to have that cross-cultural understanding and discussions. So I guess this is kind of a long story, but essentially the Wisconsin Art Board has offered, and Becky has signed the paperwork that said that we would be willing to accept this, or that we are willing to sign the contract as is, but it needs to come through our committee to go to the board, very similar to if you've seen in the past accepting the Juntos grant money that we've received. And so it would be going to the same fund to be serving the same, essentially, people.
Just to clarify, then there is no matching fund requirement for this grant?
The matching fund requirement was like in-kind contributions, which we are currently getting from our volunteer, providing their support for that club for free. So that's volunteer hours, and then the Arcadia School District has been volunteering their time, and the Wannick Center has been volunteering their space. So it's just an in-kind contribution. So that's all they request. It's very, very no strings-ish attached. Just the requirements were that there would be some sort of in-kind, having some sort of budget, and then the willingness to provide some sort of public-facing presentation of the art itself.
So you need a motion to approve, which I shall so move.
Who wants the second?
I will second it. Should we read the resolution out loud?
Yes.
All right, I'll go ahead and do that. To accept Wisconsin Art Board grant for extension program with Trempealeau County, whereas UW-Madison Division of Extension Trempealeau County receives a grant for arts programming, and whereas these grants funds are intended to support county extension educators in their work with Latinx residents involved in the folkloric dance 4-H program, and whereas Trempealeau County Extension was awarded this grant in the sum of $2,500, and whereas to receive the allocate these grant funds for the UW Extension program in Trempealeau County, County Board approval is therefore necessary. Now be resolved that Trempealeau County accepts this grant, rewarding the county of $2,500, and to direct the amount of $2,500 to be deposited in the revenue account 101.46766, and allow Trempealeau County Extension access to these monies through Juntos non-elapsing expense account 101.55624.348, introduced by UW Extension Education Committee, Communication Committee, Andy Todd, Lori Stevenson, Richard Seisha, Kevin Adams, and Don Wadera.
Do you want me to move to approve again?
Yes, please.
Okay, I'll move to approve.
And I will second it.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passed. There you go. So, okay. Number 7, it says set next meeting dates. So So what would next month fall on if we follow our schedule?
Well, it's every other month that we meet, so.
Oh, actually, every month.
October, wouldn't it be October?
Yeah, what's that? October 15th, every other month.
Third Tuesday, is that what we, are we looking at?
Kevin,
Yep.
this is Jeannie. I just wanted to thank you for letting me join your meeting today. And I just want to give a shout out to everybody at Extension, the amazing work that you guys do. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome, Supervisor Nutter. So the next October, what would that be again? 15th, so I can write that down. I don't.
If I could just clarify, I guess I would ask, is there, with the budget process, and this would be more towards Administrator Gluen, is there any action that needs to be done by the committee in September? Or is an October date? Okay.
No, yeah, the October date is fine. There won't be anything. And what'll be happening in September is I'll be working with department heads and going through everything and looking at where we need to make adjustments and changes and such to make things work. So that'll be behind the scenes, and those conversations of the budget coming forward will happen in October.
Great, thank you for the clarification.
Who do I get this to here?
Thank you for asking.
Tammy?
Sorry, what?
You're fine, thank you.
Thank you.
Did we change the time to 8:30, or have I just lost my mind entirely?
I think it's always been.
Okay, I think I've lost my mind entirely. I thought it was at 9, so I apologize for being late. I should have looked at my, yeah. I thought I knew.
All right, any other questions before we adjourn the meeting? All right, the meeting has been adjourned at 9:51.